In ancient Athens, a peculiar practice emerged, one that might seem strange to modern sensibilities, but played a vital role in preserving the city's democracy. This practice, known as ostracism, allowed citizens to exile a prominent individual for 10 years. It was not an act of punishment in the traditional sense that there were no charges, no trial, and no lasting stigma. Instead, it was a democratic safeguard, a way to protect the fragile balance of power. In a society that had only recently embraced self-governance, ostracism was introduced around 508–507 BCE by Cleisthenes, that reformer often credited with laying the foundations of Athenian democracy. At the time, Athens was emerging from a period of political turmoil. Cleisthenes sought to curtail the influence of powerful aristocratic families and ensure that decision-making rested in the hands of the citizenry. Among his reforms was the establishment of ostracism, a mechanism designed to prevent any one individual from accumulating excessive power and threatening democratic rule. The process of ostracism was as straightforward as it was extraordinary. Once a year, the assembly gathered in the Agora, Athens' bustling public square, nestled below the Acropolis. Here, citizens debated whether the city should hold an ostracism that year. If the majority agreed, a date was set for the vote. On the appointed day, citizens inscribed the name of the person they wished to exile on a shard of pottery, known as an ostracon. These shards were collected and counted, and if at least 6,000 votes were cast, the individual with the most votes was required to leave Athens. The exile was not a harsh punishment. The person retained their property and income, and could return after 10 years with their reputation intact. The Agora, where these events unfolded, was the beating heart of Athenian democracy. It was a place of vibrant activity, where stoas-covered walkways lined the open square, and important buildings like the Biluterion, Council House, and Tholos served administrative functions. In this dynamic setting, the citizens of Athens exercised their collective power, shaping the fate of their city and its leaders. Throughout its history, ostracism was used sparingly, but its impact was significant. Take, for example, the case of Aristides the Just, a man so renowned for his integrity that some Athenians found his virtue insufferable. Legend has it that during one ostracism vote, an illiterate citizen approached Aristides unaware of his identity, and asked him to inscribe Aristides' name on an ostracon. When asked why, the man reportedly replied, and tired of hearing him called the Just, Aristides complied and was subsequently exiled. Another notable figure was Themistocles, the brilliant general who orchestrated Athens' victory at the Battle of Salamis. Despite his achievements, his growing influence and perceived arrogance led to his ostracism. Unlike Aristides, Themistocles never returned to Athens, eventually fleeing to Persia. As time went on, however, the practice of ostracism began to decline. Political factions exploited the process for personal gain, turning it into a tool for petty rivalries rather than a safeguard against tyranny. Meanwhile, Athens developed more formal legal mechanisms, such as trials, to address political disputes. By the late 5th century BCE, ostracism had largely fallen out of use, eclipsed by the city's need for unity in the face of external threats. Despite its decline, ostracism remains a fascinating chapter in the history of democracy. It exemplifies the Athenians' ingenuity in navigating the complexities of self-rule, balancing the need for individual freedoms with the imperative of collective harmony. In some ways, ostracism echoes modern practices like impeachment or recall elections, yet it stands apart for its informal and direct nature. Though its shards of pottery now lie buried in the ruins of Athens, ostracism continues to spark curiosity, reminding us of the lengths to which a society might go to protect its democratic ideals.